for the commercial to play. We're going to get into it. Hey, everybody. Looks like the video quality is working this time. Hey, George. I know last week when I tried to go live, that did not work out well. There was technology issues everywhere. So today I've had a little bit of a complex. So I started preparing for this live probably about 45 minutes ago. I got set up, tried it out. It didn't work the way that I thought it should, but luckily it came on, and I think that it is all coming through well. If I can just get like a thumbs up or video quality looks great in the comments, that is always appreciated to let me know that I plugged everything in correctly. Sometimes I may forget the sound plug. I may forget, to plug in my 4K adapter, whatever it may be. Things happen. Hey, George in Atlanta. Tony, always good to see you too. Michael, welcome back. Thank you on the video quality. Where's everybody in from? So it is a long weekend for a lot of us. So I do not have Monday off of my full-time job, but I know a lot of people are taking it off. Offices are closing early. Is anybody else traveling like I am? So I am actually coming to you from the beaches of North Carolina. So it's funny, I went to the airport, Miami airport. I guess this was Sunday of last week. And he was like, oh, where are you going? I was like, I'm heading to the beach, leaving Miami and just going up north to a different beach. So as many of you may know, this is one of my blackout weeks. I've got a few weeks that I do not travel at all. I don't go on cruises. And this is one of those blocks of time in the summer. Number one, it's really expensive to cruise in the summer. With the kids on vacation, everybody trying to go, it's horribly expensive. But more importantly, it's always been a big celebration for my family. They've had a place here at the beach since after, I think when I went to college. This was their empty nester present to themselves. And so it's always been a big deal to come and celebrate here on the July 4th weekend. The HOA does a fantastic party. So I am sitting directly beside of the HOA's pool right now. So if you hear some kids screaming, you hear people having a lot of fun, it's very likely you may hear a dog that's downstairs. Who knows what we're going to hear on this call or on this live stream. But, we're going to make the best of it and hope all goes well. Hey there, Adam. Glad it seems good. Sarah, welcome. Looks great, Dino. How you doing? Hey there, Melissa. St. Aug's, Florida. And Dino, you're in Nashville. So we were just talking about Nashville last night. Some friends of mine love it, especially here in North Carolina. Nashville is like the big city to go to. When I was coming up, I think it was Atlanta. But now Nashville is definitely all the rage and apparently a fantastic time. I've not been there in a while myself. Hey, Crystal coming in from South Florida. And George, my pleasure to do this with you all. You are part of my extended family, if you will. And this is, I said it last weekend, I love hanging out with you all on the weekends, chatting about all things cruising. The people here, even at this community that I'm at, know that I am a YouTuber. I have the cruise channel, and it's funny. I'm getting a lot of people see me and they want to start asking me all these cruise questions, which I love. So I've been giving out, free advice, if you will, as I normally do the entire time that I've been here, with people asking me specifics about questions, people looking at different cruise lines, trying to see which one's a good fit for them. And so it's been really interesting and really neat. One of my friends asked me specifically about short cruises out of Florida. And so I was all over that conversation. That was right up my alley. So I enjoyed hanging out there. Hey, Fraser, welcome. Sig, welcome as well. We're getting a good crowd in today. I was a little worried when I was starting the live stream. I was like, yeah, it's a long weekend. Like, I don't know how many people are actually going to be sitting at home right now. If you're at barbecues, at the beach, wherever you may be. So thank you for choosing to spend some time here chatting about cruising. Hey there, Beverly. You are asking about the Victory Cruise from Port Canaveral. I actually don't know. Is that the Carnival Victory that you're talking about there? I am not as familiar with Carnival's lineup as I am some of the other cruise lines that are out there. I need to get on it. I keep talking about going on one of them, but I've just not found one that's been a really good fit for my schedule yet. But if you're talking about that, I mean, it sounds like it's going to be a weekend cruise. I say give it a try. You have nothing to lose. Go with the right mindset. Always have a great time, and you're going to be good to go. I think if I could give just general advice to everybody getting ready to go on a cruise, go with the right mindset regardless of your cruise line. Every cruise line out there is created a little bit different, I'm finding. But as long as you go with a good mindset, open mindset of having fun, taking it as it comes, you're going to have a wonderful time on your cruise. Oh, it's right next to Carnival. It is a day cruise. I don't know that I've heard of a day cruise. That must be, I'm going to have to look into that. I mean, I learn things on the internet all the time, Beverly, so thank you for sharing this. I am not familiar with Victory's product, and hearing that it is not Carnival, it sounds like it's an independent kind of cruise. I will definitely be Googling this afterwards. I've got some times where I can't sell out on a Friday, but I could totally go for a Saturday, Sunday. Margaritaville, I'm looking at you. So that might be something that I also can try out. So let's get into some of the cruise news that is out there. So the first thing that I wanted to chat with you all about, and feel free to comment in, as we chat through this on your thoughts on it, but there was a very unfortunate situation last weekend in Port Miami. So as many of you may have seen, there was a fatal boat crash that happened in the channel leading out of the cruise channel. So you've got Dodge Island, which runs east to west, and you've got a channel on each side of Dodge Island. For those of you that have been there, you maybe have seen Fisher Island. That is where the ferries run back and forth from the bridge leading over to Miami Beach, and then you've got Fisher Island, which is a little island with what looks like a lot of apartments, but they are very high-end apartments. I think I looked at them one time, or condos, and they were like $8,000 of an HOA. I could just be making that up, but it was a crazy amount of money that people spend over there. Interestingly enough, also the safest place that you can live, I think, in the U.S. at this point. But unfortunately, there was, I think at 3:40 in the morning, there was a boat that came through and collided with the ferry that runs back and forth. And so sounds like a very unfortunate case. One person did die, another was seriously injured. But the downstream impacts of that is really what I want to talk about today, not necessarily the accident itself, because things happen. But I was thinking through, what happened afterwards. So the port itself was closed for about 11 hours, starting from 3:40 in the morning. It did not reopen until much later that afternoon. And so there were 3 ships that were stuck basically outside of the port because, cruise ships start coming in probably about 3:30, 4 o'clock. They start lining up to come in. They get docked, to go through security protocols, all that good stuff. And they closed the port. And so there was a Celebrity, an NCL, as well as a Carnival ship that could not come in because of the boat recovery and the body recovery efforts that were going on around the crash site. And so I, started thinking of the repercussions of this on the cruise lines. I mean, number one, they had no idea what was going on, and it was 100% out of their control. The federal government or agencies that regulate these things closed the port down, and they could not get in. And, they didn't probably have a lot of information that they could provide to their cruise guests other than something was going on. And I've read some articles and seen some stuff where it sounds like it was pretty much like mayhem and chaos on the cruise ships that could not make it into Port Miami. And I got to thinking through this. I've been on some cruise ships where we've been delayed by 30, 45 minutes. Nothing huge by any stretch. And it changes the atmosphere that's there because people, I hopefully you all don't do this. I certainly do this more than I would like to. I will line up 30 minutes before we can get off the ship to make sure that I'm one of the first ones to get off, and I can make it to work in prompt fashion. And so I'm normally there lined up ready to go for 30 minutes. You then see other people start to come in, and when that ship is delayed a little bit, people are normally just starting to walk off and come get off the ship. So I'm confident that even on these cruise lines, they were probably making announcements saying, stay in your cabin, don't come out, we're not ready, we're not there yet. I'm sure people were probably coming down and lining up, even though the ship was not even in port. And so these lines turn, that's where the energy builds up, if you will. People are standing up, they've been there for a long time. because they might just not have known that they couldn't get in or thought that it was going to be soon. And there were probably a few fights that broke out. I can already see people arguing on, I was here first, you were there first. And there's the stress of, I'm going to miss my flight. Like if I'm not the first one off of this ship, I'm going to miss my flight. And as you all know, flights this week have been a nightmare even before this happened. I mean, it could not have come at a worse time in the aviation industry for, if there's 3 ships out there, that's 8,000 people probably, give or take, that, if let's say 70% of them flew in, that's a lot of people that just missed their flights and need to be rebooked. And so I really felt bad for, number one, the crew members who probably had very limited information they could give and that are getting the brunt of these conversations. And people are, admittedly upset because they're going to miss their flights. They know that it's a horrible time to be missing flights right now. Hotels are going to come into play. Miami hotels are not cheap either. And it seems like it was probably a very volatile situation. I'm glad that it all worked out, but it seemed like a really bad situation. This is one of the few times where, I would say that insurance would have really probably helped out if you knew that you were covered by your insurance policy, because this will absolutely be a covered event that they will pick up the bill for your hotel, for your flights, all that good stuff. It doesn't mean that you're not going to miss life. You're not going to be able to get to work. You're not going to be able to get back to your life wherever it's at. They can fix that part of it. But taking away some of the financial burden of it, I think really helps. And this is one of the few cases where a lot of people probably wish that they had, travel insurance that would cover this. And we talked about on the last call, I personally don't carry travel insurance. If something like this was to happen to me, because I live in South Florida, not that big of an issue. I mean, I'll just wind up being very unfortunately late to work. Hopefully I can let them know at least. But it's okay for me because I live in the neighborhood, if you will. But for those people traveling, this is one of the reasons why you want to get there. And I hate, talking about insurance because often I feel like it is based on fear. We find this one event that happened the entire year and say, this is why you need travel insurance. And that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying you happen to have it. You took the gamble and got your insurance. It would be covered. Because I can think back, I've been on 120 some cruises now. I think that there's been 4 or 5 that have come in 30 to 45 minutes late. And there's never been a time where I've been more than an hour late where we could debark from the ship. Doesn't mean it does not happen, but I think that it is, if you're taking risk or looking at probabilities, chances are you're going to be able to get off without any issues. There's a lot of things and factors that can consider that you can do, but for the most part, it's all going to work out for you. So let's come over to the comments or the questions. I've got my computer over here. You all are over here, so forgive me for looking away for a little bit so that I can see all these wonderful comments. You very well could have seen me on Freedom of the Seas for Mother's Day weekend. I am 99% sure that I was there, but I say this all the time, Melissa. I love meeting you all on the ship. If you do see me on a cruise ship, oftentimes it's going to be a short cruise. Do make sure that you say hello. I really do enjoy meeting everybody. And I think that that's probably one of the biggest benefits to having this channel is just getting to meet you all, because my inspiration comes from you. I've been doing this for a while now. I think the channel is coming up on its 2nd year anniversary in August, which seems crazy to me. But I have really been able to meet some amazing folks. I love chatting with you in comments. Meeting you in person is even better. And Melissa, we've even got the group cruise. So I'd be remiss if I did not mention the group cruise on November 3rd. It is a short cruise. It is the inaugural sailing of Allure of the Seas. So she's going to start doing weekend cruises. She's repositioning from Galveston, switching over to Florida, and we're going to start sailing her to the Bahamas. So I'm excited to get on her very first weekend cruise. We're going to make it kind of a weekend cruise inauguration, if you will. There's a link down below that is a JotForm. If you want to join us, make sure you're filling that out, and the travel agent will give you a call, go over some pricing options with you. But I'd love to meet more of you, and that is guaranteed to be probably more Brandon time than you're going to want if you come on the group cruise. I know for many of you, and I see several of you in the chat already that went on our last one, it was a really, really good time. And we hung out a ton. Like every time we turned around, we were bumping into each other. We were hanging out again. We were grabbing drinks, getting food together. It was a really, really good time. So if you can make that I would highly encourage you to come with us. We'd love to have you. Hey, Kevin, the live stream has started. So the Freedom of the Seas will be going into dry dock. So that is cruise news that I didn't plan on mentioning today because it's a smaller kind of item of the three things that I wanted to go through. But Freedom of the Seas is going to be going to dry dock. And unfortunately, they canceled some of her biggest sailings of the year to be able to go into dry dock. Now, she just went to dry dock for, I think it was like $11 million worth for her amplification in order to make her look as beautiful as she is today. I do not anticipate any aesthetic changes or anything noticeable on our side that is going to be changing in this dry dock. Because they're canceling some of the biggest, most expensive sailings of the year, and I would say in fairly short notice, I mean, we're talking about the end of December here, that they're going to be doing this, it's more likely going to be a maintenance issue where they need to get her into dry dock to be able to fix something. But I do not see it being any kind of enhancements or changes that we all are going to notice. If they were going to be doing that, I'd be a little upset that they chose to do Freedom versus going over to Liberty of the Seas and giving her a facelift. Liberty of the Seas, and there's a few other ships out there, are in need of a little bit of extra attention. They missed out on the application because of COVID and with timing. They haven't gotten theirs yet. And so I would be a little disappointed if more work went into Freedom, which I love, and I've got several more cruises booked on her. But it really needs to spread the love out and go to some folks like Liberty of the Seas. Can be a great cruise ship, a great time for you all. But she needs a little bit of work, I would say. But great question there, Kevin. Oh, and happy Canada Day there, Lucas. It is Independence Day here in the United States, but it is Canada Day up in Canada. So happy Canada Day. And glad to hear you're going to be going on Virgin Voyages. You'll have to let us know what you think about that. I've got that in one of the cruise news comments I want to mention here. They are sailing at full capacity right now during the summer, and I think they're still going through some growing pains. I'm hearing a lot of conversations on reservations and getting into the show. So make sure, Lucas, that you are setting your calendar for 45 days prior to when you are getting ready to go on Virgin Voyages, and you will make your reservations ASAP. As soon as that opens up, make your dinner reservations as soon as you can. If you're already booked on it, it sounds like you're booked in April, go into the app. It'll tell you what that day is, and make sure you set an alarm to go in and get your reservations. That is the biggest tip that I can give you for Virgin Voyages. It could just save the day. Hey there, Oren. Welcome to the live stream. Glad to have you. George. Yeah, I can only imagine what the scene was like on the ship. I mean, I think through the energy of just knowing when a ship runs late, people are missing their flights. They're seeing, the dollars roll through their mind. I mean, not a great situation at all, George. I am fortunate I wasn't there. Interestingly, I was up. I was on a 7 a.m. flight that morning, coming to North Carolina, actually. And so I got up about 5 o'clock. So if I would have known or seen an alert or something, I probably would have opened up the window and could have seen all the police activity and the different boats and lights going off up in the channel and knew something was wrong. I'm also starting to learn, and this is sad, what time the ships are coming in. So depending on if I have to wake up and go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, I can look out my window and see if there are cruise ships already in there. And so I can kind of tell about what time they should start rolling in these days. A little bit oversharing, but the best views in my house are, interestingly enough, from the master or primary bathroom. Hey there, Melissa. Welcome. Hey, Beverly. Let's see what your question is here, or comment. So Virgin Voyages, Scarlet Lady, sounds like you're going with your husband and your son. It is going to be a great time. I really enjoyed making that video sharing Mom's experience because I recognize, my experience and what I like to do isn't necessarily what everybody else likes to do. And so I try to give different perspectives, and hopefully this channel is one that comes across as me not even sharing my opinion like it is the only opinion. It is really important to me to more give you options, to tell you what you can expect. And then you can either say, Brandon, I'm going to fall in love with this cruise line, or Brandon, that cruise line, it's not for me. I think that, cruise vloggers sometimes, we can get into a bad habit of trying to always convince people that you're going to love this cruise line. And we talk things up and we talk about all the good stuff. And I'm not necessarily trying to always talk up an item, a cruise line. I'm trying to give the facts, what my experience was, so that you can then look at those and say, hey, is this going to be a good fit for me, or should I try over here? Because whatever cruise you go on, I want to make sure that you love it and you have an amazing time. I would hate for somebody to watch one of my videos, go on a cruise line and go, oh my gosh, I just spent how much money on that experience? That was horrible. So I want you to feel very comfortable going on whatever cruise line you choose, knowing that that's the right one for you. And I think Virgin is probably one, that has a little bit of a polarizing effect. People either gravitate towards it or they don't gravitate towards it. And so I really try to bring forward what you might want to consider. But I'm glad you all, Beverly, have moved forward. You've booked it. I personally love it. The food is fantastic. Again, make sure that you're going to be getting those dinner reservations 45 days out. Most important part to it. Hey, Margot. So let's chat through this, Margot. Great question. So Celebrity Reflection now going over to CocoCay, and it's also going to be going with the Celebrity Beyond. So I made some notes on this because this is something I definitely wanted to chat through. And I made an entire video on kind of the repercussions that I see with Celebrity making the decision to go to CocoCay now, Perfect Day CocoCay. So you've got the Reflection going there, as well as the Celebrity Beyond. And they even canceled some sailings on Celebrity Beyond, which is really unfortunate because I know everybody hates to have their cruise canceled. So I don't like when they make these last-minute deployments because they could have thought about this a while ago if they wanted to. It just didn't come up. So they've canceled their Greek sailing, and they're going to move the Beyond to do year-round sailings out of the Caribbean, probably because it's going to be able to make more money. So what they're going to be doing, well, first of all, let me start a poll here. I haven't done a poll yet this time. I want to see who's going to be excited that CocoCay or that Celebrity is now going to CocoCay. So let me type this in and get a poll going. I can type. And my keys have started sticking on my keyboard, which is interesting. So forgive me if I missed a T in there. That seems to be the one that gives me the most problem. My T's not working very good. But let me know in the poll that just opened up, are you excited that Celebrity is now going over to Perfect Day at CocoCay, what has been exclusively a Royal Caribbean island? I'm curious on if you all are looking forward to that or you're not looking forward to that. So I'll leave that open for a little bit and I'll chat through some of my thoughts as you let me know what your thoughts are. So will I be doing that? So I'm already booked on, is it the Reflection? I'm on the Silhouette. So one thing that I'm predicting here is that there will be more cruises that will start going to the Perfect Day at CocoCay. You all may have remembered that I booked in 2025 a few weekend cruises on Celebrity. Celebrity is getting into the weekend cruise business starting December 2024, which has been for a while now. So it was doing Nassau and Bimini. Not the best itinerary, right? So, but it was at a decent price. It was a Celebrity ship. I was really looking forward to a differentiated experience than going on a weekend sailing with Royal Caribbean. Now with the Reflection, I will absolutely be going on the Reflection to check it out. It's going to be sailing out of Fort Lauderdale. And so I'm going to go there and I'm going to check it out for a weekend sailing. They're getting into the game a little bit earlier than I thought. And I think I can make one of the ones in April, but I don't believe I have that booked just yet. Actually, let me check my spreadsheet. Did I book that? So I keep a whole running list of where I want to go. I don't believe that I actually have broken down and done that yet. I have not. I've got the Summit that's going to be going on 4-night sailings, I believe, where Fridays in Key West. I booked a few of those. And I've got May 3rd actually booked as a potential for the Reflection. I do want to go. I want to see how this experience is going to be. What I worry about is, and I didn't necessarily say this as strongly as I probably should have in the video I made about it, but when I think of Celebrity now doing the same exact itinerary that the Allure is doing out of Port Canaveral, as well as currently, or I should say Allure, Independence of the Seas is doing right now, which, by the way, thanks to whoever mentioned last weekend, I forget that Independence was doing weekend sailings. I've not been on Indy in a while, and so I booked me an Independence sailing for later this year, thanks to a comment on here, because I was like, let's make this happen. I love the Independence, second favorite ship. But I'm worried that by doing the exact same itinerary, and I think you can see this on the cruise lines or that do short cruises, if they're doing the same exact itinerary, pricing is very similar to the other cruise lines. You're going to have the same exact people. I don't know how Celebrity is going to continue to differentiate itself in the weekend cruise market compared to Royal Caribbean and compared to Carnival. Perfect Day at CocoCay is absolutely going to have a draw for more families, more kids, more generational groups to come and sail, which is absolutely fine. I think that it's a beautiful, wonderful marketing strategy for Celebrity, but it's not the Celebrity that I'm expecting. And so I'm curious. And if there's, travel agents listening to this, yay, travel agents, love you all. I'd be curious to know how you're talking to your clients about these weekend sailings. One person commented, and I've gone through the comments, I haven't gone through and responded to them yet, but one person commented that, there's really high demand for weekend sailings right now. And I will totally agree with that. I can look at the prices for Freedom of the Seas, for Allure of the Seas coming up, and say that, yeah, there's really strong demand right now because the prices keep going up. But I worry that there's going to be no differentiation. So if you're going to Celebrity, and this is where I was going with this, and you're talking about that experience to your clients as a travel agent, are you saying that it's going to be a normal Celebrity experience? I think that by it being a weekend cruise, going to a party destination like CocoCay, it may not necessarily have a ton of kids on it, but I think that it very much will drive the age down some, and it's going to turn into a bit of a booze cruise or party cruise, similar to Freedom of the Seas and how it is. That's one of the huge benefits of doing a weekend sailing with a drink package, is you're going to CocoCay where you can use your drink package. And so that's the first thing that people buy. And I don't think that people going on a 3-night cruise really care what cruise line they're going with. I think to a degree they might, but if they're looking at a Royal Caribbean sailing and a Celebrity sailing on one of their admittedly older ships, I think, I don't know if it's going to matter which one they're choosing. They're just going to choose the one that's probably closest to their house, and you're going to wind up seeing people of a very similar demographic that you're seeing on other cruise lines. I don't think it's going to allow for a differentiated experience. And so that just concerns me, I think, more long-term for Celebrity Cruise Line on, are they now trying to get into more of a family style of cruising? And I know that I haven't been on their Celebrity, Beyond, Edge, Apex. I would love to go on those. I've heard tremendous things about those. But with the Beyond now adding in CocoCay, I mean, if I saw that itinerary and I'm like, well, I've already gone to CocoCay a ton. Like, I kind of want to go other places. That's where I've looked at Celebrity a lot for these days, is it's going to places I've not been. I don't know that I'd be as quick to choose it because of all the perks that I get with the Royal Caribbean Crown and Anchor Society being a Pinnacle member. And by the way, the discount of 150% for Solo Supplement goes a really long ways. I don't know if I will be able to afford the Celebrity Cruise Line simply because I'm not going to get the discounts. The ones that I've booked so far have been the studio cabin. I booked in 2025, and so luckily, 2 of their studio cabins were still remaining. I got one of those for a decent bit. But I'm really hesitant to start celebrating how the cruise line is gonna fare or what this means for the changing. So it sounds like a good number of you are excited for Celebrity to be going to CocoCay, and I think that that's fantastic. I mean, it will give us more options. I'm just, hesitant on, if I go on a Celebrity cruise that's going to CocoCay, I think that it's going to feel just like the Royal Caribbean cruise. In my mind, I've always segmented out Royal Caribbean versus Celebrity. They've been different. They've had different products and different experiences. I think this product and this experience is going to be the exact same. I don't see it really changing or shifting much. And that could be just me at the end of the day. But that's just me. So it'll be really interesting to see how this plays out. I think more ships will also start going to CocoCay. As I mentioned, I've got the Silhouette that's supposed to go to Bimini. It is not uncommon, I think, for cruise lines to say, oh yeah, we're going to go to Bimini. And then 6 months down the road, they decide to go to a private island. I've seen that one happen time and time again. Interestingly, I learned something else on the internet from you all in the comments, and thank you. Apparently, Celebrity's been going to Labadee for a little while now. Or say they've been going. They've been selling cruises that go to Labadee, but I think it's starting up in the spring of next year. They've got some cruises that are already scheduled to go to Labadee, which I didn't know Celebrity went to Labadee. I think that, to me, that is a much better experience and much better fit for Celebrity on longer sailings. A weekend cruise just doesn't have the time to go there, to get into their foreign country, and to be able to come back. But I was really surprised to learn that there's some ships, several of them, already going to Labadee. So that apparently was not made a big deal. But Perfect Day CocoCay hit the marketing streams, and they're really excited about it. So I wonder if we're going to start seeing more intertwining between Royal Caribbean and Celebrity. I know other cruise lines have been doing this for a while now. It's just going to be one of those things that I'm going to be watching to see how it evolves, because I don't really know how it's going to turn out on us. But great question there. Andrew is coming back on us for group cruise number 2. Thank you, Andrew. It will be a fantastic time. Sarah, I think you're already signed up. I intentionally planned this very close to your house, Sarah, so you all can make it. So I'm really looking forward to seeing you again as well. Lucy, he's got some truth there. It is nice to be able to break away when you can. If I was able to do different cruises, I would really try to do longer sailings. But alas, I have this job thing that I've got to do during the day. So I would definitely go to other places. But yeah, I go to the same spots just about every weekend, and I still manage to have a wonderful time. So it's all in the mindset that you're going for. But I love that he called you out on that. George, let's see what you got here. What do I think about the jazz club turning into a smokeless casino? Honestly, I was not a huge fan of the jazz club. That was just something that did not resonate with me. I think that it does resonate with a more senior demographic. It's kind of, I'm kind of sad to see it go there, because I love the space. The space was beautiful. I just feel like they didn't find a good way to utilize it. I think that if it would have had more entertainment inside of it, more shows, if you will, I think they probably could have done a better job with it. But by it being just a jazz club, there was nobody that really went to it. I'd go in there, and the place was normally pretty empty. So I don't think that this is a bad move on their part when, we've seen, you all are in the Facebook groups, the casino smoking issue is a hot topic, right? If anybody ever mentions smoking in the casino, that will go viral. People will be responding to it left and right. It's a very polarizing topic. And I think Royal Caribbean is trying to have their cake and eat it too. They don't want to kick smokers out of the casino because they want as many people in the casino as they can get. And if you can stay down there and you don't have to leave to go, light up, they're going to encourage you to do that. So it gives them the ability to say, but look, we've got a non-smoking section that's actually going to be, a non-smoking section. They've got non-smoking sections on the other ships where, somebody 4 machines over from you might be smoking, but you're in the non-smoking section. I've never been able to tell much of a difference in there other than, somebody can't sit down directly beside of you and smoke when you're in the non-smoking section. But by having a completely different venue for this, I think Royal Caribbean is trying to have their cake and eat it too. So they can now say, look what we've done. We've solved the problem for smoking versus non-smoking in the casino. We're going to have both of them, which isn't a bad strategy, I'll say, because the casino makes a ton of revenue. There are a lot of people that go on cruises simply for the casinos and the ability to gamble. So I think that this was probably, from a revenue standpoint, really smart move from Royal Caribbean. You took a non-revenue producing spot that, really wasn't even driving, I'll say, guest satisfaction, because a lot of people didn't go to it. It has now, driven guest satisfaction by offering a non-smoking casino option, and it's driving revenue. So as much as I hate to see an entertainment venue go away, I think that this probably is a good move for Royal Caribbean. Adriana, is a cabana worth it for only 2 people? This is a personal preference. I mean, the cabanas are a wonderful experience, especially the overwater cabanas, which are just over the top. I've done them twice. So after post-COVID, we were able to get some really good deals over there. We'd go in tenfold with my group of friends, the royal family. We'd split it up, and we'd have an amazing time out there. Prices on these cabanas, though, Adriana, have gone through the roof. If you are looking at these prices, and can continue to happen with more ships going there, especially with Celebrity, it is a really expensive venue. And sometimes, if you're doing a weekend sailing, I have seen the overwater cabanas cost more for a family of 4 to get the overwater cabana versus just coming on the cruise. It's insane to me. So is it worth it? It is a great experience. I think some of the more hidden cabanas are the ones by the Oasis Lagoon. They've got some nice ones that I think a lot of people don't think of. But if you want a more chill environment, you've got the cabanas at Chill Island, and there's the ones immediately when you walk onto the ship off the pier to the left that are down there. And so you can still get some shade, have a little bit more of a cushion to sit on. Those are more in line with what I probably would want to pay these days. But they're a great time. If you have the money and you see the value in having your own special place, I could see it being worth it. I really could. And Adriana, you've called out a great point here. Like all cruise lines or all things on the cruise ship, it is going to have dynamic pricing. So the price that you see today could be more, it could be less. So if they see that people aren't booking it, they're going to drop the prices. If more people have booked the cabanas, they're going to increase the price on it. And know that their inventory of these is fixed. They've only got so many cabanas out there. So once they start filling up, they're going to keep raising those prices on you. If it does wind up going down, so even after you book it, keep watching it. If it goes down, you can call in and get that adjusted. So you can get the lower price if you happen to catch it, but that's just something you have to manually know that you're going in and looking for. Hey, Lucy, welcome back. Glad to share some of those other options. And, to my earlier points, like if I can help people see what the other options are and if you want to try it, sometimes the grass is greener, sometimes it's not. And sometimes it's just good to learn, is it really better or is it not? I think that's something that I've come to appreciate, and I've even kind of changed my mentality of, I don't look at it as being better or anything like that. It's more, is this an experience that I enjoy? Because they're all a differentiated experience. Is it one that I can still have fun with? And the answer to that is going to be yes. I have yet to find a cruise that I have not enjoyed. So, Thomas, one thing that I didn't talk about here, if we go back to the CocoCay situation with Celebrity going over there, one of the bigger comments that I got on that post was, oh yeah, but what about the construction of Hideaway Bay? They're going to have an adults-only section there that could really appeal to Celebrity Cruise Line's guests. And you know what? I've got a few reservations on celebrating the adults-only section just yet. The reason that I say that is, number one, I think the Oasis Lagoon is fairly an adults-only section. It doesn't have a sign out front of it, but the afternoon hours, starting about 12:30, 1 o'clock to all aboard, the Oasis Lagoon is an adults-only section. If you are a 5-year-old in that crowd, you're probably hearing language and seeing things that you should not be, because it is where the party people are at. So I already feel like that crowd is already there. What I see happening is that crowd very much could move over to the adults only section unless they do a really good job of marketing that the adults only section is a hideaway, it's an escape, it's a calming experience. Royal Caribbean is going to have to set a really good tone for what the environment at Hideaway Bay is going to be, because I could see it very easily becoming a party crowd at the adults only experience, and that's not a bad thing. But if you're on Celebrity, one of the big reasons why Celebrity cruisers don't want to go to Virgin is because Virgin is a higher party atmosphere. Celebrity is more tranquil, it's more quiet. They've got a few people that party, but for the most part, it's going to be Virgin Voyages. I think that, if you have these weekend cruises and different people coming on them, I think that you're probably going to see that that's going to turn into a bit of a party crowd unless the marketing for that is on point and they've got spa-like music playing. My second thing is, I'm not so sure that it's going to be complimentary. And I know that I believe that I've heard, and haven't seen this in writing, that it is going to be just another beach that you can go to, that you can just walk into it. It's complimentary with your stop at CocoCay. But I'm not so sure if it is, capacity limited. I think it said it's going to add about 2,000 people. I don't, and we've seen the beach club is a charge. I don't know that this is not going to be a charge. And this is not me trying to spread a rumor. This is just me thinking out loud on, I would not be surprised if the cruise line said the adults only section is going to cost extra money and they tried to make that an add-on experience. So we're just going to have to watch and see how that plays out. There is a lot of construction going there. Hopefully that's all going to be completed by the time Celebrity starts going. But I mean, it'll be up to anybody to see how that goes. But more ships are going to start going there. You're going to see a lot more times where you're going to have 2 ships there. And ships are sailing at full capacity now. So CocoCay is a massive island. I've never seen a shortage of chairs. But you definitely can start feeling that there is a lot of people there. When you're sitting 5 or 6 rows of chairs back, you're not necessarily getting an intimate kind of experience where you want those prime seatings. Now you're looking through everybody to get to the front. Can be avoided if you want to show up before 10 o'clock, 10:30. You're normally going to be good to go. But just one of those things you need to consider. I would not be surprised, Thomas, if every day at CocoCay did have 2 ships there. This would allow Royal Caribbean to maximize the revenue that they are driving out of CocoCay. It's kind of like an airline. An airline does not make, or an aircraft does not make money when it is sitting on the ground. If it's not flying or going anywhere for a day, it's not making any money. Same thing at CocoCay. They've got 2 slips there for boats to come in, 2 Oasis class ships actually. With that, if one of those slips is empty for the day, or there's nobody there at all for the day, they are technically losing money, especially if there's a ship doing a sea day when it could have stopped in CocoCay. It's burning fuel, doing all those things. This would have been a great way for them to make additional revenue. One of the downstream impacts that I did not mention on the video that I made about this, and probably most of us haven't thought about it, but there's actually one day right now where there are no ships in CocoCay. And that is a day off for the workers that work Perfect Day CocoCay. There is one day every week that they do not have to work. And I think that, unfortunately, they're probably going to see that go bye-bye with the addition of Celebrity cruise lines there and more ships within the Royal Caribbean fleet coming online that will want to sail there. So I think that that day off that they had, it might go away, and they're going to start bringing in additional ships. So maybe they'll get some more help over there so they can still give the folks a day off. But that's one of the downstream impacts that I think most of us didn't even consider, is that the crew members are now going to be working an extra day. I don't know if they'll adjust their contracts or how that works, but that's one of the downstreams that probably will come with this as well. Tony, I see you're going to be booked. May 3rd is the first one, Adam. Oh, and perfect. So it looks like I have that one. No, I think, did I have May 3rd? That might be the first one I said I had booked. Yep, May 3rd. I will hopefully be there. I don't have anything booked for it right now, but I'm going to try my best to go there. And Adriana, I'm going to answer this way. One thing that I'm getting better about is, trying to maintain a little bit of privacy on here. It's tough when you're on YouTube, right? And you're sharing everything that's out there. It is a professional job that I work 9 to 5. If anything, it's probably much more than 9 to 5 that I wind up working. But in my eyes, never shall the 2 worlds ever meet. Everybody knows that I have this channel. It's not that it is a secret, but it is a whole different world of mine that I don't necessarily cross paths with the YouTube idea here. But they know about it. Everybody's on the same page. We're good. But I don't normally talk too much about the 9 to 5 other than just know that I have one. Do I get really good deals to go on the weekend, Beverly? How do I know if it's a good deal or not? So the first thing that I'll say here is no, I don't get good deals. I wish that I did, but I don't get good deals. What I do get is the same thing that you all are eligible for. And so the biggest deal that I get is through Royal Caribbean, and that is after 340 cruise nights, I get 150% off. because I made, some will call it like Diamond Plus Plus on their Crown and Anchor tiers. I'll get 150% off, which will save me several $100s per cruise. But if you're going on weekend cruises, the downside of going on weekend cruises is they normally sell at a bit of a premium to start with. Because it's only 3 days, because there is such a demand for it right now, the per day amount that I spend to be on a weekend sailing is more than I would spend if I went on a 7-night sailing. The average cost per day on a 7-night sailing is less than it is on a weekend sailing. So there's no great deals there. If I am in a budget conscious mood, which I have been recently, I'm watching my numbers a lot, making sure that I can afford going on cruises with all these increasing costs. I've got a lot of MSC booked, and so they are, in my opinion, one of the best value cruise lines out there where I can still get on a ship, I can have a wonderful time, and it's going to cost me a fraction of what it would to go on one of the other cruise lines. And so if I'm looking to be a little bit more frugal, granted there's nothing cheap about going on a cruise, I'll look to MSC these days or try to get a studio cabin and book very far in advance to make that happen. But there's really not a great deal that's out there. How do I know if it's a great deal or not? I think that just comes with experience on what I've seen and what I traditionally pay. Most of the time, I'm going to be comfortable around the $400 to $500 space for a weekend sailing. And that is with my 150% off discount. If I can get it cheaper, which MSC was coming in about $300 when I booked it, I will absolutely go down that route. But that's, to me, a reasonable price. So I've got Allure of the Seas on my radar for next year. I've got 5 or 6 sailings there I'm watching. And I can get into a Central Park balcony for about $450 average for those sailings. So that is the cheapest stateroom on there. Because of the 150% single supplement, because of the balcony and higher discount that you get being a Crown and Anchor member with Royal Caribbean, you will see that the Central Park balcony is going to be the cheapest stateroom, which is kind of crazy to think about. And as much as I've given the Allure a tough time over starting to do weekend cruises, I started going, wow, that's not a bad gig. Now I can start getting, a balcony room, Central Park, boardwalk balconies, for cheaper than I can get an interior, which I cannot do on a Freedom class or smaller ship because they don't have that stateroom category. I would have to go all the way up to an Ocean View, which is going to cost me much more money. So, I might be getting on board with this Allure of the Seas coming to Miami and being my home ship next year. I'm starting to like that idea a lot more. And I'm liking the idea of being able to go to the Coastal Kitchen on these short weekend sailings. Normally we don't pick up a lot of Pinnacle members, so they should not be closing that on us. I don't see 50 Pinnacle members coming on a weekend sailing on the Allure. I think there'll be an increase. I think there'll be more than the average of like 10 now, but I don't think that it'll be enough that will close down the Coastal Kitchen to us Pinnacle members. So I might, between the price, the balcony, Coastal Kitchen, I'm starting to warm up a little bit to Allure of the Seas. So more to come on that. Again, don't forget about the group cruise on November 3rd if you want to come and see really how does the Allure do for one of its sailings. Adriana, I go through phases. You all know that I love a junior suite. Junior suite is my favorite category given the size, given the space. Doesn't come with the perks, which is a Pinnacle member I don't necessarily need. But I love a good suite. If I can stay in there, I will. One thing that I'll divulge to all of you, and you'll get an early preview of this, I actually may have booked the Royal, oh, I'm blanking on the name, the Royal Suite on Freedom of the Seas. So I booked the highest stateroom category on Freedom for a weekend sailing. How did I do this? I used one of my Pinnacle milestones. You get free cruises at $700 and $1,050, and I searched high and low for the nicest room that I could get, and I found one weekend. There's only one weekend in the entire sailing where I could get into the Royal Caribbean suite, the Royal Suite, for no money. My free cruise is covering that. Yeah, if I would have done it on a 7-night, I could have got a pretty good room too, but I couldn't fit a 7-night into my schedule. I could only do 3 nights. And so I'm going to be staying in the Royal Suite next year. So I'm actually really excited about that. I am going to be so spoiled in that room. I may not leave the room, just order room service the entire time, get my money's worth, throw a few parties. We'll see how it goes, but I am really looking forward to that. And sharing, of course, with you all What's the big deal about the Royal Suite? I've never actually seen into it, except I've been able to see where the stewards have the door open. I'll peek in a little bit, but I've never stepped foot in one before. I've stepped foot in the Royal Loft Suite on Oasis of the Seas. I have a room tour of that where some amazing followers of the channel reached out and said, hey, we're on the same sailing as you. If you want to come and check out the Royal Family Suite, no, Royal Loft Suite, be glad to have you come in. And that was a fantastic room. I will like that one much more than this Royal Suite on Freedom of the Seas, but still super stoked to be able to check that out. Yeah, I don't know why on this one, Adriana, they haven't extended the Sky Suites or Star Suites. They've not extended it. It's only on the Oasis class and the Quantum class. They don't have it on the other ships. You would almost think that they would, because people see those benefits and they're willing to pay more money. But I guess that they don't feel that the smaller ships can accommodate it or have enough to offer. But I don't know why they've never done that. So what is my thought on completely banning smoking on cruise ships or isolating it to the back of the ship? So I'll go ahead and say what I've already said on this one, Kevin. I think going with, eating your cake and eating it too is always a great strategy for Royal Caribbean, to have a smoking casino and a non-smoking casino. From there, I'm not going to touch it with a 10-foot pole on what my opinions are going to be, because there is no winner in this conversation. I have seen too many Facebook groups explode with very energetic comments on the smoking versus non-smoking. I'm not going to go there. That is something that I will allow the cruise lines to figure out and you all to figure out. I will gladly educate everybody that smoking is on the port side, on the pool deck, as well as the embarkation deck, and it's in the casino. But that's about as far as I'm going to go talking about smoking, because it is such a polarizing topic. And that's just not what I'm trying to get views for on this channel. I promise you, if I was to come through and make a video where I took a stance on either one of these, on, cruise lines should go back to smoking wherever you want, or we should ban it completely, or start, the video would take off. Like, it would go extremely viral. But that's not how I'm trying to grow this channel. As much fun as that might be for you all, that's not my motivation. I like keeping everybody civil. How is Royal going to have 4 weekend ships with that being limited to CocoCay? So I don't know that they're going to have 4. They're definitely going to have 3. So Canaveral, Fort Lauderdale, as well as Miami are all going to have weekend sailings going to CocoCay. So you've got 3 ships that are going to need to be there on either Saturday or Sunday. And there's a few times where, we might just go to Nassau on one of those things. They don't normally sell very good. I think one of the last videos I made on that was I got a really great deal because I noticed the ship wasn't going to CocoCay. It was super cheap. And so I was able to get a decent stateroom on it. But for those people that signed up for Freedom of the Seas thinking that she always goes to CocoCay and Nassau, were very sorely disappointed. A lot of people at guest services not pleased with that. So I think for the most part, Adam, we're going to be fine on the slips. I trust that they've got fancy software that tells them where these cruise ships can go. But we're going to definitely have 3 ships there. Actually, you are right, 4 ships. I'm forgetting about the Celebrity Reflection. So all the slips on Saturday and Sunday are spoken for at this point. So, and that also confirms, or talks about something else I said in the video, is you're going to have a mixed crowd now with Celebrity and Royal Caribbean ships being in port together. So you're going to have the energy of Royal Caribbean's Freedom of the Seas, if you will, and the energy of a Celebrity Reflection ship coming together to both enjoy CocoCay. So let's see how well we all play in the sandbox. Salmon, great question. Have I been to the Canary Islands? I have not been to the Canary Islands. I've looked at it a few times, but the Canary Islands normally takes a longer sailing, and I've just not been able to figure it out. It's also normally offered a few times a year unless you're going over to MSC, which is definitely an option. But I think that it's a little bit too long for me. I may do it one of these days. I'd love to also see the coastline up there by Portugal. I think that there would be a beautiful cruise leaving out of Southampton, going to the Canaries, but it is not something I had done yet. Would you recommend it, or would I recommend more Greece? Stay tuned on that question, Salmon, because I am actually going to Greece in T-minus 2 months. So September 2nd, I'm actually doing Explore the Seas. Mom is coming back with me. We're picking up a niece as well on this. So we're going to have 3 of us going on the Explore the Seas over to Greece. So more to come on what that experience is, and hopefully to give you something you can compare to a little bit more. Let's see what you got, Michael. On Royal Caribbean, if I change my booking from 2 people to solo after final payment and the prices have increased, you know what? That's one of the questions that I normally don't get too involved in because it is very much so a travel agent question. And I am a huge proponent of travel agents because nitty gritties like this, I don't know. And I also feel like you're a little bit at the mercy of who you get on the phone when you call in. So I don't know what the right answer is. It would not surprise me if they do want to try and reprice your cruise, is what we call it, where they change it to current day rate. That would not surprise me. What I will also say is because you're on Royal Caribbean and you booked it as a double occupancy with somebody else's name on it, now you're going down to solo, you will not get double Crown and Anchor points or an extra Crown and Anchor point for that sailing. That is a change they made last year, that if you book it at any point as 2 people in the room, and one does not show, or there are no show, or they cancel, you cannot get the single points anymore. So you'll get just the points you earn from your stateroom category, from the nights, but you will not get the solo cruise point. Not sure that I'm a fan of that. I don't think that it makes sense, but that's the policy that's out there right now. And George, thank you for the super sticker. Those are super important. Thank you for being a supporter and a sponsor of the channel. That truly does mean a lot to me. I put a lot into this, so I tremendously appreciate that. So let's see, I've got a few more news things that I want to talk about. Not too much more, and then we'll come back over here to the comments to finish it up. But I wanted to chat through Virgin Voyages. By the way, love Monster Energy. Not sponsored by them. I just drink way too much of them these days. So, Virgin Voyages is doing a new marketing campaign, and I thought that it was just really cute and really neat, and so wanted to mention it to all of you to get your feedback and your thoughts on, you know, what you thought about the marketing campaign of Virgin Voyages. So, Richard Branson and Virgin Voyages have teamed up with Jennifer Lopez. So they're bringing in celebrity star power. You'll see cruise lines do this from time to time. And they did it last year. So they had a conference on board the ship that J-Lo, Jennifer Lopez, was a sponsor of with her, I think it was called Limitless Labs. And so it was a female empowerment conference consortium where really, you know, well-known women leaders would come in, they chatted. And from what I read online, it was a great experience. The one downside that, you know, people commented on was, you know, this was Jennifer Lopez's experience. And you know what she did? She didn't show up. She decided to skip the experience. So she was there to empower women, to talk about women, but it was really more the Limitless Labs putting it on, just using her name, I think, to help with the marketing of it. But she didn't show up for a cruise that, honestly, I thought this, and I'm sure more people thought this, that it was almost like a J-Lo charter cruise than I would have expected to have seen her on there, the way that they marketed it, and that's not what happened. But apparently it went extremely well. They've teamed up with her again to have a Gen AI, Jen-AI, and that stands for, I'm blanking what AI stands for. Advanced Intelligence? It's like ChatGPT, that stuff. And so I went through it, and it's a really cool marketing gimmick that they've got. And if you've not watched the commercial to it, I did link to it down below to their website where the Gen AI is. But artificial intelligence, I'm blanking on my words. So artificial intelligence. But the video on this, the commercial that they have is hilarious. So it is with J-Lo in it. It's with a few other folks. But they did a really good job. I was laughing out loud at the commercial they have here. And so I was like, all right, let me go through and see what is this Gen AI thing that they've got, because it intrigued me. And all that it is an email invitation. And so you go through steps to create your email invitation, and it is Jennifer Lopez asking you questions. You put in your name, and because of the power of artificial intelligence, she's able to say, that's great, Brandon, where do you want to go? And use your actual name. She'll use your guest name. You pick out the itinerary you want. I think that was the main thing that you had to pick out. Why you're going, are you celebrating anything? J-Lo is apparently a huge fan of stopping and just celebrating, whether it's honeymoon, divorce, baby moon, which I just learned was a thing the other day. Virgin Voyages celebrates baby moon. Didn't know what that was, but it's a thing. And so you can go through, complete this entire process, have J-Lo interacting with you, and then she sends you an email invitation that you can forward out to other people that you want to come along with you. So I just thought that it was really well done, cute, and I can see why people might want to go in and actually use it, especially if you're trying to get a group to go on Virgin Voyages. It would be really neat to be able to send this kind of invitation out, because it's different than an Evite or Eventbrite, those kind of things. It looked really, really good. Super easy, by the way, to fill out, and just overall neat and fun. So I also have booked more cruises, and I feel like I'm, going crazy a little bit. My 2025, if I'm not careful, and I think that it very well might be, is going to be fully booked for next year by the end of next week. So my 2025, I've got everything that I want. I've looked at everything. I know where I want to go. I know how to stay within my budget. I think that I'm going to bite the bullet and go ahead and start locking some of those rates in. I've talked with you all a few times now about playing the long game right now. So if you're trying to book a cruise within a month or two, you're going to pay a lot of money for that if the cruise is not already sold out and you're not going to be able to get on it. So I'm doing the extreme opposite of that right now. I'm finding the best deals. I think it was Beverly that asked about the best deals earlier on. I'm finding those deals by booking into the summer and fall and winter of 2024, if not going into 2025 a little bit. I'm not booking too much into 2025. Oh, I got my numbers wrong on that. So my 2024 will be fully booked by the end of next week. 2025, I've got 2 booked, and I'm holding there a little bit because, it is the weekend cruise right now that's available is the Celebrity Silhouette, which is fantastic, out of Fort Lauderdale. But the other cruise lines haven't announced what they're doing for their weekend or short sailings yet. And so I kind of want to see, what are my options? I locked in a few of them because I know I want to go up there a little bit. But I haven't fully locked into all of 2025 yet. I'm going to leave myself the option to do some more. I already mentioned this, but I'm going to be going to the Independence up in Cape Canaveral. So I'm going to drive up to the Orlando port to check out Independence of the Sea for a weekend. I can't wait to get up there and do a full ship tour of Independence of the Seas. It is a beautiful ship. So if you're looking at her as one of your cruise options, I highly recommend Independence of the Seas. And I also booked the Seaside. So I've got the Seaside coming up, and I'm going to do them over 2 weekends, which is me not really thinking it all the way through. I'm probably going to regret that when I get there. But the Seaside is also out of Port Canaveral. So that is 2 weekends in a row that I'm going to have to hoof it all the way up to Cape Canaveral. And I'm going to try to do it on the cheap, you all. Like, I don't know how this is gonna work out. I'm kind of nervous about it, to be honest with you, because I want to do it on the cheap. If I'm going up to Cape Canaveral, I got to make sure that it's still within my budget to do this. The good news is Brightline, they go up to Orlando now. Bad news, there's not really a great way to get over to the port just yet. So I'm looking through my options, and what I'm going to wind up doing, and let me know if you've done this in the bottom, is I'm going to try out a new car rental company I've not heard of. It's called Kite, Kyte. If you've used them, please let me know your experience in the comments. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are here. I'm probably going to wind up testing them out once before just to make sure that it works out well, but they are a car delivery service. So they will bring you the car to your location. So I'm just going to have them bring it to me on Wednesday night, because the Seaside's weekend cruise is a Thursday night cruise to a Sunday morning cruise. Don't love it, but it allows me to go on an MSC ship, which I love, and it's one of their newer ships. So I'm excited to be able to bring you more information about that. But I'm going to have them deliver me a car. and I'm going to drive it up, and I'm going to stay at probably the Ramada Inn or the Days Inn. So the car rental is going to go for, I think I'm looking at like $30 a day is what I'm going to have to pay for, which is super cheap. The Days Inn or the Ramada on Priceline, which is what I've been using recently, it's going for about 40 bucks for the night. I want to go in the night before because I've driven to Tampa before first thing in the morning. Wake up at 5 o'clock, drive over there, work from a coffee shop. That is not fun. I'm getting a little bit too old to be doing that, and I want to show up and be able to enjoy my cruise, not feel like I'm exhausted from waking up at 5 o'clock. So I'm going to go up the night before and then drive back when I get off on Sunday. That's the one advantage of it to coming back on Sunday is I can drive back, get off the ship whenever I want to, within their time frame, of course, and be able to make it back to home down in Miami. And it's going to be about a 3.5 hour drive, pending I don't stop a few times for bathroom breaks, get some more Monster Energy, something like that. It'll be, I think a nice experience, but I am worried. I tried renting a car a few weeks ago for $20 because I don't have a car. It's one of the things that I gave up so that I could cruise more. And I tried renting it for $20 and it was just a disaster. I wound up leaving and not even renting the car because you get what you pay for on a few things. And so that's why I want to test this kite thing out first to see how it works. I'm probably going to have a backup plan on getting to the ship should something fall through, but I'm really hopeful that it works because the price is amazing. I don't need the car to be that clean. I don't even need it to be nice. It could be something, as long as it's reliable, it gets me there, it gets me back, I'm going to be fine. So it'd be really neat to see how that works out for us. So let's come back over here to the comments and see how everybody is doing. My nose is running on me. Forgive me, everybody. The good thing about coming down here to North Carolina, they have pollen. They have trees. When I moved to Boston originally, and now I'm in Florida, my allergies have never bothered me. Here in North Carolina, my nose is getting all the smells, all of them. The Hideaway Beach may be ready by the time Icon shows up. I think that Hideaway Beach is coming online March, April of next year, so we'll be curious to see if that actually winds up happening or not. So I will skip this one. I mentioned it a little bit earlier on what I do. I shouldn't mention it probably at all if I don't want people asking about it, But in my world, I've got my full-time job and I've got my YouTube life, and never shall the two meet. I try not to have cross conversations because that just gets tricky. Everybody over there knows that I've got the channel. It's not that it's a secret by any stretch, because I even had one of my old bosses, start researching, and he gave me calls like, "Hey, I see you know something about cruising. You mind giving me some advice?" Which was hilarious, and loved chatting with him and catching up. But it's just really neat how that works out. Hey, Barb, hope you're still on. I know I'm getting back to these comments everybody made just a bit ago, but I'll do my best to get through all of these. Glad to see you on here. You did meet me on the Oasis class ship when I was doing back-to-backs. I'm actually going to be going end of next year. Oasis is going to do a weekend sailing. I say weekend. It could be a Thursday to Sunday situation in October maybe. And I'm going to be going back to the Oasis. It is around November 8th weekend is when that's going to be. I pulled up my spreadsheet. So maybe I will see you back there. So if you are buying suites, Adriana, you are paying a ton of money, especially if you're getting those Sky Class suites that you were talking about. They're not cheap. I mean, if you've looked at, Andrew was just talking about the Icon of the Seas. If you wanted to look at some of their suites for a 7-nighter, oh my God, you're talking like 20,000 plus for, 2 people to be in one room, which is amazing. And if people can do that, more power to you. I respect that. If that's what you value in your life and you can do it, then I say have at it. Clearly, those rooms sell out quicker than anything out there has. One thing we've not talked about on here, though, is the change to the suite down payment policy. So when you make a deposit on a cruise, often it's $100, $200, $250, somewhere around that ballpark. What the cruise lines, Royal Caribbean, has caught on to is people were booking their suites because they sell out so quick. They want to just book it to be on the safe side, and then they were canceling them. So what they've done is they've now said your deposit for a suite is 10% of what you are paying for the cruise, which can be a really, really high amount. So it is much more than $100 or $200 per person. So just know that if you are looking at suites, you're going to be paying a lot of money up front. It's not going to be 90 days out for final pay you're paying that. You're going to be doing that very much so up front. Hey there, Craig. Do I know if MSC is going to come to the West Coast? I have not heard any conversations on MSC going to the West Coast. The West Coast, I just saw an article earlier this week that said that the West Coast is seeing its best cruising year ever as far as capacity and the number of people going on a MSC sailing, or excuse me, not MSC, a West Coast sailing. MSC also is in the market of buying ships, so they are building new ships all the time. It would not surprise me if they did go out of the West Coast at some point. They are very strongly trying to grow their America's market. So they're starting with the Caribbean. They're bringing over even more ships to start doing their summer season here. That, you know, their traditional group of Mediterranean, European sailors love coming to the Caribbean, but it would not surprise me if they put a ship seasonally over on the West Coast. I don't think that they would do one year-round over there, Craig. I think that that might be a tough sell for them, but I can see one seasonally being there. So Beverly didn't have the best experience on MSC. We decided not to go on anymore. You know, it happens. No, the cruise lines are not for everybody, and MSC is certainly more of a budget cruise line, a value cruise line. I have a great time when I go on there, but it's normally just me. Like, I don't have other people's expectations or other people going with me. And half the battle on figuring out what cruise line you like is figuring out which cruise lines you don't like. So congratulations on lesson learned on that. So Craig, yeah, you've got limited options. I think Princess, Royal, and Carnival all go out of there, out of the West Coast. And you know, I'm just not a huge fan of the West Coast. I did 3 back-to-backs on Navigator this season when she was doing weekends and a short cruise in the middle. Ensenada is like the Nassau of the West, I call it. There's not really much out there to do. Catalina Island, super small and intimate. So I wasn't wowed by the short sailings out there. If you're doing a 7-night that's going to Puerto Vallarta, you're going to Cabo. Those are some amazing experiences. I love those resort towns. But, you know, there's tenders involved. I think the tender to go from the ship to Cabo, it's like 30 minutes. So make sure you're going early if that's something you're going to do. The commercials are really good with JLo. I will completely agree with that, Janie. I like the marketing a lot on that. What are my thoughts here, West Coast Cultured, on Miami driving? I will tell you what I told my mom. So mom, as you all know, came down and visited me about a month ago now. And we drove over to Tampa the weekend before to see her niece, my first cousin, who was getting married. And I said, look, we're going to get on the highway here. We're going to go down Alligator Alley. People in Miami we drive a little bit different. They will be swerving all over the place. You will get cut off 20 times, and you will see people driving faster than you have ever seen them driving. It is not uncommon to be on I-95, Alligator Alley, any of the highways around Miami, and see people driving in excess of 95, 100 miles per hour. They drive extremely fast, especially if they're in the express lanes. They're going to be driving very, very fast. So just know that drivers down there are cut a little bit different. I'm not sure if they don't know how to drive or they're really good at driving, too good at driving. So they're not great. Make sure that you get insurance if you're driving a car in Miami or around Miami. It's not a good situation. I'd say actually probably after you pass Orlando, about an hour later, you're going to start seeing the driving situation completely shift and change. And they're aggressive. They have places to be, apparently. So Tom, I am in the picture. That was my picture from yesterday. So my brother here, my twin brother, I don't know if I've shared that I've got a twin out there or not, but he's got a 27-foot boat that he keeps down here at the beach. And so we took it over to Cape Lookout in North Carolina. So we're currently down by Morehead City, Atlantic Beach. And we took the boat out. I think it was about a 30-minute ride to get over to Cape Lookout. And so I wore my weekend cruiser hat. So merch stores listed down below if you're interested. But my brother saw it and he was like, does this count as a weekend cruise? And I said, absolutely. So interestingly, weekend cruiser is a type of boat. So if you are in the boating industry and you are looking for, a smaller boat, it may be called a weekend cruiser. It's one that you can take out on the weekends and just cruise up and down the waterways, which I thought was really neat. I found it when I was looking at naming this channel and said, luckily there's not a lot of overlap between the two on what we're doing. But it was just really neat to see that, that is a type of boat that's out there, or model of boat that you can buy. So, Salmon, that's probably a good way to do the Greek islands as well. You don't necessarily have to do a cruise. There's some of the islands that I'd love to go and stay for a longer period of time and be able to see what's really all there and not feel rushed. So this may be one of those places where I want to go back, but I also know some of the places we're going, I'm going to be there one day and I'm probably going to be good. I'm going to be ready to go somewhere else. But it'll be neat to go on a cruise that goes to a couple of different cities within the same country. Most of the time, I think my last Mediterranean cruise that I did went to like 3 or 4 different countries, very port intensive. This one, lesson learned, it is not that port intensive. For a 7-night sailing, I think we've got 5 ports, so we get 2 sea days with it, which is fantastic. Having a port every single day, I had to tap out by the end of it, you all. Like the last day, I think we're in probably one of our best ports. No desire to get off the ship. I was done. I had sightseed out. Seened out. And I was just ready to have a sea day. And so I had a sea day while in port just to be able to relax some. We go very fast down here. If you are, I will also quickly give some advice just on, I sat beside of a gentleman who was coming into Fort Lauderdale, needed to get to Port of Miami. If you were trying to save some money, there's some very cheap ways you can do it. You can take the Tri-Rail to the Metro to the Metro Mover to the Miami Trolley, and it's not going to be that much. You can do that for probably under $10. But it's going to take you probably 3-4 hours. So if you're coming in and you're trying to avoid driving because it's a bit of a mess, I highly recommend taking Brightline or just doing an Uber, saving yourself the trouble, let somebody else handle that driving. They are glad to do it. And the cost to go from Fort Lauderdale Airport to Port Miami is probably about $45. It's not bad. The one thing that Uber drivers have told me consistently though, and you all are bad about this, is if you are a family of 4 and you're going on a 7-night cruise and each of you has a big piece of luggage, you do not need to call the Uber X. It'll be the cheapest option, which is great, but your bags and you are not going to fit in their car. And if you don't fit, they have to cancel the ride and you wind up being charged because they physically could not fit you all in the car. So just make sure that whatever you get, you're going to be able to fit your stuff in there. It's always a little bit of a gamble. If it's an Uber X, you could get a teeny little Fiat and barely one person and their luggage fits, let alone a family of 4 going for a full week. So just use a little bit of caution there. If you're looking at getting Uber and you're going to a ship, whatever port, that could be if you're going from Houston to Galveston or you're going from Fort Lauderdale over to Port Everglades, which is probably about a $15 Uber ride. Make sure you're getting the right one for your situation, not just trying to save money, because that could go horribly wrong and cost you that precious time that you're going to be missing out on getting on the ship. Craig, I'm not sure that I recommend having a few of these monsters before driving around Miami. I certainly have done that in the past, but that's not a place you want to be hyped up. It'll help you keep up with everybody, but can't say that I necessarily recommend it. All right, everyone, let's see. I think that is probably wrapping up most of the questions that we have gotten today. Last call for questions, or what do you all want to talk about? I'm open to possibilities right now. I love hanging out with you. Being able to answer these questions is one of my favorite things to do. Like, I enjoy making the videos and doing the educational content, which, by the way, I've got a crystal block video and ship model tour that's probably going to come out this week if I can sit down and edit that. I also did a behind the scenes tour of like my live stream setup so that you could see the camera here, the laptop. Normally I have a secondary monitor over here, but I didn't like how that turned out, so I'm probably going to be reshooting that. It's not going to be a long video, but I thought it'd be neat just to show you all what I use to put into this, especially if you're looking at starting a channel of your own as well. Barb, thank you. Very glad to have you on, Barb. Hopefully I'll get to run into you once again and see you on one of the cruises. All right, last call for questions. And then we'll conclude today's live stream. I keep calling it a call. There's some insight into what I do for a living in my day job. I'm on a lot of calls. All right, seeing no questions come through, I'm going to go ahead and call it. Again, thank you all for hanging out with me, especially on a long weekend for many of you. Happy Independence Day to the Americans. Happy Canada Day to our Canadian neighbors up north. Hope you have a fantastic weekend and that most of you get Monday and Tuesday off as well. All right, everybody, this is Brandon the Weekend Cruiser. Hoping to see you on a weekend cruise soon. West Coast culture, real quick to jump back into it. You can absolutely get around Miami not knowing Spanish. It would be a huge plus if you do, but hand signals, you'll be able to communicate fine. There's a lot of people that do not speak English there, though. Uber drivers in particular, I will say. But for the most part, I've never had an issue with it. We've all figured it out. But if you want to start a Duolingo class beforehand, doesn't hurt. All right, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'm going to conclude the broadcast now. Thanks, everyone.